Hello, it's Peter Wright and Kathleen Beauvais with another episode of the Yakking Show Business Channel. And this is the show where we bring you actionable tips and ideas from experts in their field to help you thrive and survive in the interesting times we're living in and the times ahead. And we do that by bringing you interesting guests, and today is certainly no exception. But first, let's introduce Kathleen, co-host. Hi, Kathleen. How are you doing today?
I'm doing great, Peter. Thank you so much. And thank you also very much for tuning into our show. We so appreciate you. And Peter and I have the great privilege of interviewing so many outstanding experts on this show. And of course, today is no exception. We have the great privilege of welcoming Julie Jones to our show. Hello, Julie. How are you?
I am fabulous. Thank you so much for having me on. I'm super excited for this episode, as I'm excited for every time I get to talk.
Now, Julie is a breakthrough coach. She's an international inspirational speaker, a TV producer, and a podcast host of Get Shit Done. Yep, I said it. Get Shit Done. So, Julie, let's just jump right in. You have a mantra that states, stop waiting, start living. What do you mean by that?
Well, that kind of goes back to my early career back in the 1990s when I was a police officer and SWAT member. And I was in that career for about 10 years. And really the hardest thing that I ever had to do within that career was give death notifications, to let people know here today, gone, and that there is no promise of tomorrow. And in that career, I had a lot of empathy, but I had to remain stoic. And it was really difficult to tell people that their loved ones weren't coming home. And then it hit me personally when at the young age of 57, my mom was diagnosed with early onset Alzheimer's. And she passed away just 2 short years later at 59.
Wow.
And it was in that moment that I thought to myself, okay, again, all these examples of not knowing if tomorrow will come. And so I better, make my decisions. And I decided in that moment that I was no longer going to wait on my dreams and my aspirations and what I really wanted to be doing in life. And so it's a powerful platform for me to have people stop waiting for whatever they're waiting in their life for, and to really start living in the now, because that's all we're promised.
Absolutely.
You're so right. I don't want to talk about my story, but I've had also some really acute, sharp reminders of how everything can be turned upside down in a moment. And if you don't live for today, boy, you might regret it. So good reminder from you, Julie. Thank you. So you also say, face the fear and do it anyway. And I guess this comes again from your early career in the police. So tell our audience a little bit more about that. And how do you help people when they come to you?
It sounds good. So I was talking about, it's all about taking action, really putting one foot in front of the other. And then I had mentioned the Rudolph song, put one foot in front of the other. And I don't have a very good voice. And I think this is the first time I've ever sung on a podcast. So consider yourself fortunate.
We're lucky. Yeah.
Right. But that could be a fear thing, right?
Right.
So I live by example. There are things that I'm not exactly always thrilled about. I do not like heights. And so in that, regard, I've jumped out of airplanes and gone skydiving. I've climbed the Sydney Bridge, right? Because it was all about taking action and realizing that anything is possible once you put your mind to it. And it's really usually the fear of the unknown. People don't know what they don't know. And so I love to be able to link arms with people and show them that it is possible once you get out of your own way. And it really comes down to what I call stinking thinking. It's this right here that gets in the way of living the life of our dreams.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah. Wow. So, you climbed the Sydney Bridge. Wow, that's something. We'll get you back to talk about that one day for sure. Sorry, Kathleen, back to you.
So Julie, you have a journal which people can purchase entitled "Stop Doing, Start Being." What do you mean by that?
Well, a lot of people think that once, they will do, and then they will be happy, right? And so my premise is that you have to first be happy, be whatever state that you want to be, before you can do and you can have. See, like when it comes to relationships, sometimes people think, oh, yes, that other person is going to make me happy in this relationship. No one can make anything happen. It's all up to you. And in my life, and even though I have a podcast, called Get Shit Done, and I'm all about productivity, it's about productivity in the sense that you're not losing your sanity, like being what I call whoop busy, like just running the hamster wheel and not really living the life that you want to live. So many of us always say no to these awesome opportunities because we don't think we have time. And so I really want people to slow down in the process and be who they are meant to be. And so the journal is just a great reminder of you being in a certain state, but also as a reminder to, at the end of the day, look at what you did get done versus what you didn't get done. As human beings, we have a tendency to go to the negative, look at all these things, this huge to-do list of things we didn't get done. And it's like just waking up and being alive is a celebration in and of itself. And so that's where I want people to remember that and remember their wins from the day.
Oh, excellent. So the purpose of this journal then is to document everything that they've been able to accomplish in that day. Doesn't matter how small it is, it's still an accomplishment for that day. Is that right?
Absolutely. And it's a journal that doesn't have to be done every day, right? Because again, I'm not about the have tos in life. I'm about the get tos. What do you get to do? And even when you say that to yourself, there's a difference, like of alignment. When you say you have to do something versus that you get to do. Do you have to pick up the kids or do you get to pick up the kids from school, right? Like there's a difference in your physiology and how you think of things when you say things a little bit differently. So again, I want people to celebrate who they are, how they showed up, and, really all their wins. And again, like if you decide to be happy, like everything is going to look a little bit different that day than if you decide to be unhappy.
Okay, so let me just jump in here for a moment, Julie, because you mentioned something very, very important. Choosing to be happy. And a lot of people out there, whether they're going through tough times right now, will say, well, how in the heck do I do that? How do I choose that when I'm feeling so crappy about life? What would the first steps be in that?
Not rainbow, sunshine, and unicorns. Like everything is not always perfect in my life. However, if I walked out right now to my car and I saw that I had a flat tire, I make the decision, is it a bad moment or is it a bad day? Like I've been having an amazing day up to this point, and now I have that choice. And I sometimes don't even look at it as a bad moment because it very well could be the opportunity that I don't go down the road and get into that accident that, and a lot of people are like, okay, great. Like that is really not how life is. However, I am here to tell you it's a simple decision and a simple choice. Everything in life is that way. And so when you make that decision to be happy, despite what is happening, you will see that more happiness will come your way. The law of attraction, and a lot of people talk about that, right? But the law of attraction, it's like, has anybody, and I mean, maybe even one of you, like if you start off the morning kind of maybe waking up with the grumpies, and do you realize that like everything that continues to happen that day, somehow like you term as negative, right? Like, maybe you drop something on your foot. Now, like you're running late for something. Well, that's all because of those choices. But as soon as you make the decision to switch, I promise you, like you can have a different outlook.
Right.
Yeah, very true. Very true. It is indeed. So I'm going to ask you a cheeky one now. I've got the Sydney picture of you climbing the Sydney Bridge stuck in my brain here. And I remember a few years back, there was a group of people I think they called themselves base jumpers, and they did things like jumping off skyscrapers with parachutes when they weren't supposed to, and bungee jumping and climbing up skyscrapers and big hotels without permission and getting chased by the police. And I just feel climbing Sydney Bridge might go in that category, or was this something more organized?
No, it was organized. It was organized.
Thanks.
We had to, they led a tour,
Yeah.
and we had to wear like flight suits because it's so incredibly windy, and you're tethered, but still there's that, like when you are that high up, because I want to say it's like 440 meters, or it's a huge bridge that you climbed at the top. Now the view was worth everything that I put myself through. And again, it's when I got back down to the ground, like, first of all, I'm grateful to be back on the ground, right? But more importantly, super proud that I just said, you know what, I'm going to do this. And I made it happen.
Oh, well done. That is good. I mean, I've done all sorts of scary things in my life, but I went up. We have a thing called the CN Tower in Canada, in Toronto. I can't remember how tall it is. It used to be one of the tallest buildings in the world, and it's still one of them. It has a glass floor, and I really struggled to walk across that glass floor. I mean, I thought I was going to pass out. I did eventually, but that was a problem for me. And yet put me on a fast horse on a polo field, and I'm happy as anything else. Just goes to show. So let's get back to what you do. You work a lot with stress CEOs and entrepreneurs, and you help them do the things you've just been explaining to Kathleen. What's the first steps? How do you lead them through this transition from having to do to getting to do, and having a more balanced life?
A lot of it is, we initially start off with a consultation call, just for the fact to see like if the energies are going to match. I know that a lot of times I'm not everybody's cup of tea, and I'll be honest, like I am very high energy. I'm very much what I call a blow up the box thinker. Like, I don't even believe in the box. It's like, let's get out of the box, because you're going to eventually be in a box at some point in your life, right? It's like, get out in front of like the what I call the idiot box, AKA the TV. Like, there's all these boxes we have in our life, and it's like, let's just get rid of all of them and see what we can create by design. After we have that initial consultation and we know that we're a good fit, because I am always going to give people 120% of the information I have. It's up to them to apply what I'm taking. See, everybody always says knowledge is power, but it's applied knowledge that's power. And so really, I'm going to give my best like tools, skill sets, all those kinds of things, and then we're going to run with it. I have a couple of different certifications. I work with a program called the Working Genius, which is about productivity. And it is designed to help people figure out how they do tasks in whatever role that they're doing. And everybody has a working genius and a working frustration. And then, so that just gives people insight as to maybe them not going to beat up mode so much when they realize that maybe a certain task that they're doing on a day-to-day basis is really frustrating them and not bringing out their genius. And then I also recently was certified as a master practitioner in neurolinguistic programming, as well as hypnotherapy. And so that's one of the new tools that I'll be bringing to people to help people get through faster the idea behind fear. But I've done a lot of, if you want to say, work myself. Like, I am somebody, first of all, that has a coach myself, because I always tell people, really examine who you're working with. People who are coaching and may not have a coach could be a red flag, because I know that I don't know everything, and that I'm always growing and learning and getting the tools to be able to help my clients most effectively. And that's what I do. And I walk the walk and talk the talk. So if I don't feel that we're a good fit because what you're bringing to me is not in my expertise, I have an amazing tool bag of other coaches and other people who specialize in things that I can refer people out with confidence, because I believe in win-win. There's enough business to go around for everyone. And really, honestly, if I'm not able to help you, I will find somebody who will.
Right. Right.
Oh, wow. That's a good, honest admission that we don't often hear. So that's great.
So Julie, you touched on this earlier already, but you made a dramatic career change from being in the police force to becoming a speaker and coach. Let's take a little bit of a deeper dive into your story and how this all came about, because that's quite the switch.
It is. And if you look throughout my life, like I have had a common theme of always wanting to help people. From early on, my parents taught me the importance of giving back and volunteer work. And I just love to be with people and I love to help people. And I thought that I could do that in law enforcement. And I was very good at what I did. However, it just wasn't necessarily, I didn't look at it with rose-colored glasses. Like I knew what I was there to do, and it wasn't always an easy route. When I left law enforcement, I knew there was something else out there for me, but like everybody else, I had my own series of challenges of figuring out what that journey looked like. I have been everything from a property manager and gotten my real estate license to I've been a chiropractic assistant, a makeup artist. Like all these different fields all had one thing in common, helping people for whatever they needed at that point, but also as, an expert in those arenas, I was able to speak and coach people in different capacities. So that just led me, it was like a natural unfolding. So many people loved to have me and put me in front of a room to speak. I've never ever had a fear of being in front of a room and speaking to people. In fact, I get extremely energized from it. I love it. And so that was like, it was just a natural fit. It's still a lot of work. Don't get me wrong, like business is business. And when you don't come from a business background, because my parents were employee mindset, and I didn't go to college. I went to college for criminal justice. I didn't have a background in business. So I learned and I explored and I did what I needed to do. Again, hiring coaches to help me get to the point where I am today.
Wow, well done. Well done. Here's a quick one for you. In the journey to building your coaching business, which has started before the lockdown, COVID, whatever you want to call it, have you seen people have more fear and more hang-ups and more challenges to overcome since the lockdown, or not?
I think that people are questioning more their purpose. I believe that maybe not so much obstacles and challenges, those come in, I guess, the arena of that they're questioning who they are and what they want to be doing. And so finding their purpose, finding their path, really no longer doing what they don't love to do, whatever that looks like, and finding the path that's most important to them. I really believe that I just recently heard a study that like the number one thing that people are currently looking for is personal growth and development. They really want to live their best life.
You're absolutely spot on, because in all the people Kathleen and I talk to, that comes through very strong, that over the last 3 or 4 years, people have woken up and said, do I really want to commute, for instance, for an hour every day to a job I don't like that much? Suddenly they've been working from home and they're thinking, wow, there's alternatives out there. So yeah, I agree with you. We've seen that. That's interesting. So having spent time in the military myself, not the police force, but there's some similarities. What are the most important lessons that you learned from your time in law enforcement that have helped you do what you do now?
Conflict resolution would be like, number one, like really learning and being effective with communication. I also, as a coach, am very direct with people. People don't pay me for fluff, but I still come from a very loving space. So many times I think in life, we all have those people that love us and they want to protect us, and maybe they unintentionally be the crabs in the bucket, right? Or like, you can't escape, you can't go and do what you want to do. So I'm there to say, you've got this, you can do this. And I'm going to tell you what it is that you need to hear. So those are some of the big things. And again, like we talked about, the face the fear, right? Like every time that I walked up to a car, not knowing what was going to happen, or walking into an abandoned building or whatever it was, I know that if I can face that, I can help people face whatever it is in their life that's, bringing up the fear, being scared. I really did get a lot of great, I guess, skill sets. Oh, and the other thing, I apologize, I just thought of one more. The idea of critical thinking, like critical thinking. I just truly believe that that's become like a missing component, that, people face problems and obstacles and they don't know how to think it out, right? Like sometimes it's just taking action. But yeah, I'm really good with critical thinking.
That's excellent. Quick one for you though. What about, because you're a nice people-loving person, and one of the problems if you're a nice people-loving person is difficulty handling rejection and not being wanted. Did police toughen you up? I'm not saying you were soft before, but obviously you faced some hostility and you talked about conflict resolution in the police. Did that help you when it came to starting your own business and facing rejection?
It did. I would say some of it did, but like all human beings, nobody likes to hear the word no. I
Sure.
think one of the bigger things that really supported me with that was that I read the book by Don Miguel Ruiz, The Four Agreements, and where he talks about, like, don't take it personally, right?
Yeah.
And so that agreement and hearing that, I've really learned that everybody has their own set of filters. And to me, no means not right now. Like there's a reason, and they don't see the value in it for them quite yet.
Yeah,
When
sure.
they do, I have no doubt that they'll come back and there'll be a resounding yes.
No, good. Excellent.
Well,
Kathleen.
tell us about your podcast and who does it appeal to?
So my podcast is really designed to have amazing conversations, not only personally and professionally as well. So how it looks is that I don't have a set agenda. I am one that I also have a television show as well. I do everything unscripted. So I like channel a lot, if you want to say, like I'm very intuitive and I get messages. So I always know the next question to ask, and and just make it casual conversation and have some fun with it. And it's really people who have shown resilience in life and are living the life of their dreams. And I wanted to inspire other people to do the same. It doesn't matter where your background is or where you came from or, what you're currently doing. We all have a message and a gift to share with this world.
Absolutely.
Very good. And so you must have quite a wide audience.
I do.
Yeah.
Because I work with men and women. I'm not, sometimes. So I do. I have a wide range of people, a lot of entrepreneurs, a lot of business owners. And I even interviewed on my podcast a current police officer. And we really, dove into, some topics. I like to ask tough questions that maybe other people are afraid to ask because they don't know how it's going to come across. And I'm really from such a loving heart that I figure if somebody, okay. So I said, I figured like if my audience, if I'm thinking about the question, my audience is thinking of the question. And so I really have a way of asking tough questions from a loving heart that really allows people to feel comfortable in asking. It's not like an attack. It's much more so of, hey, inquiring minds want to know, and people always feel comfortable in answering.
I think it would be very inspirational to listen to personal stories of people who are living their dream. Because so many times, if you were to just walk down the street and just stop people, most people say, oh, no, I go to work because I need the paycheck. They're not living their dream. It's out of necessity. But it's truly, I think, is truly special to say to somebody, I am living my life. I wouldn't change a darn thing. So, I mean, it's just for that, your podcast is worth a listen, I think.
I listened to a little bit of one. I think your latest one, but unfortunately something happened and I had to stop and I didn't get back to it. I'm definitely going back. So how can one watch your TV show? Where does that air?
So the television show is called Stop Waiting, Start Living. Go figure, right? And it is on the Zondra network, Zondra. And it's on Roku, Apple, Amazon Fire, as well as on the internet.
Oh, great, because I have Roku. Yeah, good. I'll certainly be looking at that. Yeah, so we've got to watch our time. But my burning, can I go ahead, Kathleen, and ask?
Absolutely, go
Julie,
ahead.
my burning question. I have to ask my burning question,
well.
all our successful guests. So, Julie, in your experience, is there a single characteristic or mindset that separates successful leaders from those that remain average and never really get out of the rut? And I don't just mean making money. I mean, picking up from you, having a balanced life. Is there one thing or is it more complicated?
You know what? The answer that came immediately as you were talking about that is truly the belief that you are enough, right? Because like, I am enough. So as a leader, you know, like empowering other people to win as well, when you truly believe that you're enough and that you don't have to prove anything, right? It's like when we come into the idea of having to prove ourselves, then that's where competition comes in and we don't have the idea behind collaboration. When you really, really, truly are aligned with that you are enough and that you do have a gift and whatever you bring to this world is just as important as the next person, that's where I believe collaboration and community will really start to happen even more so.
Yeah, very important. Very good. Thank you. Thanks for that.
You're welcome.
Kathleen, back to you.
Julie, tell us about your books.
Oh, wow. Well, my first book was Stop Waiting, Start Living. And I have some other collaboration books, including Six Figure Chicks. I've been in a couple of gratitude books because I'm all about, you know, the foundation of gratitude. I also have the Entrepreneur's Toolkit for Success is another book that I'm part of. And all of them have been international bestsellers. So I'm really proud of that, especially my first book, because, you know, when you put yourself out there, it's a little scary to put yourself out there at times. Again, the idea of face the fear and do it anyway.
And so how do people get them?
They can find them on my website. So my website is juliejones.biz, B-I-Z. And the journal, as well as a couple of the books, are available for purchase on the website.
Great.
Fantastic. And is that how people can contact you, is through the website, or do you have an email address?
I do have an email address, which would just be julie@juliejones.biz, B-I-Z again. But that's the easiest way, is really to go to my website and you can book that free call with me and, you know, we can have a great conversation. I always give more than what people are looking for.
I can imagine that.
Well, Julie, we are
sorry.
Yes, go ahead.
No, just for a message for our audio listeners that all Julie's contact details will be in the description on whatever platform you are listening to this on.
Absolutely.
Sorry, Kathleen. Back to you.
That's all right. Julie, we are unfortunately out of time, and I think we could go on speaking with you for hours on end, but I hope you get to come back on the show at some point in time. Thank you again so much for joining us, and everybody, thank you for tuning in. And if anyone is interested in being a guest on our show, we invite you to visit our website at theyakkingshow.com. All you need to do is click on the contacts tab, where you will find a short application form, and we would love to hear from you. So until next time, take care, everyone. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.